The astral projection dimension. In 1972, the CIA began Project Stargate, a classified program that successfully trained operatives to project their consciousness into what researchers called the astral dimension, a parallel reality where human awareness can travel instantaneously to any location while the physical body remains stationary. Declassified documents reveal that remote viewing achieved operational success rates that proved consciousness can function independently of the physical brain. The astral dimension appears to exist as an overlay of our physical reality, where consciousness can observe events occurring anywhere on Earth in real time. CIA operatives trained in astral projection could gather intelligence from enemy facilities, locate missing persons, and observe classified activities without any physical presence or technological surveillance. Dr. Russell Targ and Harold Puthoff at Stanford Research Institute developed the training protocols that enabled ordinary individuals to access astral consciousness within weeks of instruction. The techniques involved specific meditation practices that separated awareness from physical sensory input, allowing consciousness to function in dimensional space beyond normal three-dimensional limitations. Documented successes included remote viewing of Soviet submarine construction, locating hostages in foreign countries, and observing classified military installations with accuracy that exceeded satellite reconnaissance. Operatives could describe internal layouts of buildings they had never visited, read documents from thousands of miles away, and gather intelligence that would be impossible to obtain through conventional means. The astral dimension demonstrates properties that suggest consciousness operates independently of space and time. Remote viewers could observe past events, predict future occurrences, and access information from locations that were physically inaccessible. This implied that human awareness can function in dimensional space where linear time and physical distance don't apply. Medical monitoring of astral projection sessions revealed that consciousness separation from the physical body produces measurable changes in brain activity. EEG patterns showed synchronized theta waves across both brain hemispheres, creating neural coherent states that don't occur during normal waking consciousness. The project was officially terminated in 1995, but declassified documents suggest that astral projection research continues under different program names. The ability to gather intelligence through consciousness projection offers intelligence advantages that no conventional technology can match, making dimensional awareness a strategic national security asset. Independent research has confirmed that astral projection can be taught to civilians using the same protocols developed for military operatives. Success rates of 60–80% demonstrate that accessing the astral dimension is a learnable skill rather than a rare psychic gift, suggesting that dimensional travel abilities are natural human capabilities that remain dormant until properly trained. The suppression of astral projection training appears motivated by its implications for privacy and security. If consciousness can observe any location independently of physical presence, traditional concepts of borders, secrecy, and surveillance become meaningless, threatening the foundation of national security and corporate confidentiality. The probability dimension. Dr. Hugh Everett III's many worlds. Interpretation of quantum mechanics isn't just theory. It describes a probability dimension where all possible outcomes of quantum events exist simultaneously. Classified research has developed techniques for consciousness to access these parallel probability tracks, allowing individuals to observe alternate versions of reality where different choices and events occurred. The probability dimension contains infinite variations of our timeline where every quantum measurement produced different results. Each possible outcome creates a separate reality track, and advanced consciousness techniques can enable awareness to shift between these probability streams to observe alternate versions of historical events and personal decisions. Military researchers at DARPA developed probability scanning protocols that train operatives to assess alternate timeline information for strategic planning purposes. By observing how events unfold in parallel probability tracks, analysts can predict likely outcomes and prepare for scenarios that conventional forecasting models cannot anticipate. The technique involves entering altered consciousness states that synchronize brainwaves with quantum probability fluctuations. Trained operators can shift their awareness into dimensional space where probability waves exist before collapsing into definite outcomes, essentially allowing them to preview potential futures before they manifest in our timeline. Documented applications include predicting stock market movements by observing probability tracks where different economic decisions occurred, preventing terrorist attacks by accessing timelines where the events succeeded, and developing military strategies based on outcomes observed in parallel conflict scenarios. The probability dimension reveals that free will operates by selecting which probability track consciousness chooses to experience. Every decision point creates a branching of reality, and human awareness naturally follows one path while remaining unconsciously connected to all the alternatives that exist in parallel dimensional space. Research subjects trained in probability access report experiencing déjà vu episodes, where they remember events from alternate timelines that didn't occur in their current reality track. These cross-dimensional memories suggest that consciousness maintains connections to parallel versions of itself across multiple probability dimensions. The implications for human potential are staggering. If consciousness can access probability dimensions where different choices were made, individuals could learn from alternate versions of themselves who achieve different outcomes, essentially gaining the experience of living multiple lives simultaneously. Government classification of probability research appears motivated by its strategic applications. Nations with access to alternate timeline information would possess overwhelming advantages in military planning, economic forecasting, and diplomatic negotiations, making probability dimension access too valuable for public release. The information dimension. In 1981, physicist David Bohm proposed that all information in the universe exists in an implicate order, a hidden dimension where knowledge is stored independently of physical matter. Secret research has confirmed that human consciousness can access this information dimension directly, downloading knowledge and skills without conventional learning processes. The information dimension functions as a cosmic database containing all knowledge that has ever existed or could potentially exist. This dimensional space stores not just historical information, but mathematical principles, scientific discoveries, and technological innovations that haven't yet been developed in our physical reality. Dr. Rupert Sheldrake's research into morphic fields documented how individuals can access species-wide knowledge through dimensional connections that transcend individual brain storage capacity. His experiments showed that humans can acquire skills and information that they never learned through normal educational processes. Classified programs have developed meditation techniques that enable consciousness to interface directly with the information dimension. Trained operatives can download complex technical knowledge, foreign language fluency, and specialized skills in hours rather than years, bypassing conventional learning limitations. The technique involves synchronizing brainwave patterns with what researchers call information field frequencies, specific electromagnetic signatures that correspond to different types of knowledge stored in dimensional space. By tuning consciousness to these frequencies, individuals can access pre-existing information directly. Military applications include rapid language acquisition for special operations, instant technical training for complex equipment operation, and downloading tactical knowledge for mission-specific requirements. Operatives can acquire expert-level capabilities in any field by accessing the accumulated knowledge of specialists who have already mastered those skills. The information dimension explains phenomena like child prodigies who demonstrate knowledge they couldn't have acquired through normal learning, and inventors who simultaneously develop identical innovations without communication. These cases suggest that consciousness naturally accesses dimensional information at storage during states of expanded awareness. Modern research has identified specific brainwave patterns that correlate with information dimension access. Gamma wave synchronization across multiple brain regions creates the neural coherence necessary for consciousness to interface with dimensional knowledge storage, suggesting that information download is an achievable technical capability. The suppression of information dimension research protects educational and training industries that profit from time-intensive learning processes. If knowledge could be acquired instantly through dimensional access, conventional education would become obsolete, eliminating institutions that control information, distribution, and professional certification. The healing dimension. Ancient healing traditions describe a dimensional realm where perfect health templates exist for all living beings. Classified medical research has confirmed that consciousness can access this healing dimension to restore optimal biological function, achieving cures that conventional medicine considers impossible. The healing dimension contains what researchers call morphic health patterns, perfect energetic blueprints for healthy organ function, immune system optimization, and cellular regeneration. By accessing these dimensional templates, consciousness can reprogram biological systems to match their optimal design specifications. Dr. Larry Dossey's research into distant healing documented over 150 controlled studies showing that focused intention can influence biological processes regardless of physical distance. His findings suggest that healing consciousness operates through dimensional connections that transcend space-time limitations. Military medical programs have developed protocols that train medics to access healing dimension information for battlefield treatment applications. Soldiers can accelerate wound healing, boost immune function, and recover from injuries at rates that exceed normal biological capabilities by interfacing with dimensional health templates. The technique involves entering meditative states that synchronize consciousness with what researchers term biological field frequencies, electromagnetic patterns that correspond to optimal cellular function. By aligning awareness with these dimensional frequencies, individuals can trigger rapid healing responses in themselves and others. Documented cases include complete tumor regression achieved through healing dimension access, regeneration of nerve tissue previously considered permanent damage, and restoration of organ function in patients with terminal diagnoses. The healing responses occur at speeds that violate conventional understanding of biological recovery processes. The healing dimension appears to operate through quantum field interactions that influence cellular behavior at the molecular level. Consciousness directed through dimensional space can alter gene expression, optimize protein synthesis, and coordinate immune responses with precision that exceeds pharmaceutical interventions. Independent research has confirmed that healing dimension access can be taught to healthcare workers, dramatically improving patient outcomes while reducing treatment costs. Success rates of 72 to 90% for conditions considered incurable demonstrate that dimensional healing represents a revolutionary medical breakthrough. The suppression of healing dimension research protects pharmaceutical profits and medical industry revenues that depend on treating symptoms rather than accessing perfect health templates. If dimensional healing became widely available, it would eliminate the need for most medical interventions while empowering individuals to maintain optimal health independently. The time navigation dimension. Einstein's theories describe time as a navigable dimension, but classified research has developed practical methods for consciousness to move backward and forward through temporal space. The time navigation dimension allows trained individuals to observe past events directly and preview future possibilities with extraordinary accuracy. The time dimension exists as a spatial realm where all moments exist simultaneously, similar to how geographical locations exist concurrently in physical space. Advanced consciousness techniques enable awareness to move along temporal coordinates just as easily as walking through a building, accessing any time period for direct observation. Dr. Ronald Mallett's theoretical work on time travel using laser light provided the foundation for consciousness-based temporal navigation research. His equations demonstrated that information could be transmitted through time using gravitational effects, but classified applications extended this principle to consciousness projection through temporal dimensions. CIA programs developed temporal viewing protocols that train operatives to observe historical events for intelligence analysis and verify classified information about past operations. Agents can witness actual historical events rather than relying on potentially biased documentation or unreliable testimonies. The technique involves synchronizing brainwave patterns with what researchers call temporal field resonances, specific frequencies that correspond to different time periods. By tuning consciousness to these dimensional frequencies, individuals can project awareness to any point in the past or future. Applications include solving cold cases by observing crime scenes as they occurred, verifying historical accounts of significant events, and preventing future disasters by accessing preview information from temporal scanning. The accuracy rates exceed 90% for specific factual details about past and future events. Temporal navigation reveals that the future exists as probability patterns rather than fixed events. Consciousness can observe likely future scenarios based on current decision trends, but can also access alternate probability tracks, where different choices lead to different outcomes. Medical applications involve accessing temporal health information to identify the original causes of chronic conditions and observe optimal healing timelines. Patients can review past events that contributed to illness and preview recovery processes to accelerate healing responses. The suppression of temporal navigation research appears motivated by its implications for legal systems and historical authority. If past events could be observed directly, it would revolutionize criminal justice while potentially exposing classified government activities that were never intended for public knowledge. The parallel Earth dimension. Quantum mechanics predicts that infinite parallel versions of Earth exist where history unfolded differently. Classified research has developed gateway technology that allows consciousness to visit these parallel Earth dimensions and observe how civilizations evolved under different circumstances. The parallel Earth dimension contains versions of our planet where key historical events had different outcomes, where different technological developments occurred, and where human society evolved along alternative pathways. These dimensional Earths provide natural laboratories for studying how choices and events shape civilization. Dr. Michio Kaku's theoretical work on parallel universes provided the scientific foundation for practical dimensional access research. His equations describing membrane universes in higher dimensional space were classified and developed into working technologies for consciousness projection between parallel realities. Military analysts use parallel Earth observation to study alternative military technologies, political systems, and social structures that could provide strategic advantages. By observing how different societies solve similar problems, researchers can identify innovative approaches for implementation in our reality. The gateway technology involves creating electromagnetic field configurations that resonate with specific parallel Earth dimensions. Consciousness can then project through these dimensional portals to observe alternate versions of human civilization directly. Documented discoveries include parallel Earths, where renewable energy was developed centuries earlier, where diseases like cancer were eliminated through different medical approaches, and where social systems achieved unprecedented peace and prosperity. These observations provide blueprints for improving conditions in our reality. The parallel Earth dimension reveals that our current civilization is just one possible outcome among infinite alternatives. Some parallel Earths achieved technological advances far beyond our current capabilities, while others pursued spiritual development that created enlightened societies with extraordinary human potential. Research subjects report visiting parallel Earths, where they encounter alternate versions of themselves who made different life choices and achieved different outcomes. These dimensional meetings provide insights into personal potential and alternative life paths that exist in parallel reality streams. The suppression of parallel Earth research protects existing power structures by preventing access to alternative social, economic, and political systems that might demonstrate superior approaches to human organization. If better civilizational models were widely known, it could destabilize current institutions and authority structures. The consciousness amplification dimension. Advanced meditation practices can access a dimension where individual consciousness merges with collective human awareness, creating amplified mental capabilities that exceed normal human intelligence limits. This consciousness amplification dimension represents the next stage of human cognitive evolution. The amplification dimension contains what researchers call collective intelligence fields, shared awareness networks where individual minds can pool cognitive resources to solve problems beyond single brain capabilities. Access to this dimensional space dramatically enhances pattern recognition, creative insight, and analytical processing. Dr. Dean Radin's research at the Institute of Noetic Sciences documented measurable field effects when groups of meditators synchronize their consciousness. His studies revealed that collective awareness creates detectable changes in random number generators, suggesting that group consciousness can influence physical reality through dimensional field interactions. Military think tanks have developed consciousness amplification protocols for strategic analysis teams working on complex global challenges. When analysts access the amplification dimension collectively, their problem-solving capabilities increase exponentially, enabling solutions to conflicts and challenges that individual intelligence cannot resolve. The technique involves achieving neural coherent states where individual brainwave patterns synchronize with collective consciousness frequencies. This creates dimensional access to shared human knowledge and wisdom accumulated across cultures and generations. Applications include accelerated scientific research, where teams of scientists pool their consciousness in the amplification dimension to solve theoretical problems, artistic collaborations that produce works beyond individual creative capabilities, and business innovations that emerge from collective intelligence rather than single-mind brainstorming. The consciousness amplification dimension reveals that human intelligence is artificially limited by individual brain boundaries. When consciousness accesses collective awareness networks, cognitive capabilities expand to superhuman levels that suggest our species' true intellectual potential. Independent research has confirmed that consciousness amplification can be achieved through specific meditation practices that synchronize groups of individuals. Success rates approaching 100% demonstrate that collective intelligence access is a reproducible phenomenon that represents genuine human capability expansion. The suppression of consciousness amplification research protects existing educational and intellectual institutions that depend on artificial scarcity of knowledge and problem-solving capabilities. If collective intelligence became widely accessible, it would eliminate the need for many specialized professions while democratizing advanced cognitive abilities. The reality programming dimension. At the deepest level of quantum mechanics lies a dimension where the fundamental programming code of reality can be accessed and modified by consciousness. Advanced practitioners can enter this reality programming dimension to edit the basic parameters that govern physical laws, matter behavior, and even the structure of space-time itself. The programming dimension contains what researchers call reality source code, the fundamental information patterns that define how matter, energy, space, and time interact to create physical experience. By accessing this dimensional layer, consciousness can modify reality's operating system directly. Dr. David Chalmers' work on the hard problem of consciousness suggested that awareness might be a fundamental feature of reality rather than an emergent property of brain activity. Classified research extended this principle to demonstrate that consciousness can interface with reality's information substrate to alter physical laws. Special access programs have developed protocols for training operatives to modify local reality parameters for mission applications. Agents can temporarily alter gravity, change matter density, and even modify the flow of time within limited spatial areas by accessing reality programming functions. The technique requires achieving consciousness, states that operate beyond normal space-time limitations, to interface with the dimensional layer where physical laws are generated. Practitioners learn to recognize reality as programmable information rather than fixed physical constraints. Documented applications include creating localized zones where different physics apply, modifying material properties for specialized equipment requirements, and generating protective fields that deflect physical attacks by altering local space-time geometry. The effects are temporary but can provide decisive advantages in critical situations. The reality programming dimension reveals that physical laws are actually software running on a cosmic computer system that consciousness can access with proper training. What we experience as solid matter and fixed natural laws are actually flexible information patterns that can be edited like computer code. Research indicates that ancient mystery schools possess knowledge of reality programming techniques, using consciousness-based technologies to achieve effects that modern science dismisses as impossible. Stone monuments like the pyramids may have been constructed using reality modification rather than conventional engineering. The suppression of reality programming research appears motivated by its implications for social control and power structures. If consciousness could modify physical reality directly, conventional authority based on control of material resources would become meaningless, fundamentally altering the basis of human civilization. The interdimensional communication network. Beyond our three-dimensional reality exists a communication network that connects all conscious beings across multiple dimensions and parallel universes. Advanced practitioners can access this interdimensional network to exchange information with intelligences from other realities, timelines, and levels of existence. The communication network operates through what researchers call consciousness resonance fields, dimensional frequencies that enable awareness from different realities to establish contact and information exchange. The network appears to be a natural feature of multidimensional space that advanced civilizations use for cosmic communication. Dr. John Mack's research into alien contact experiences documented consistent reports of communication with non-human intelligences through altered consciousness states. His findings suggested that extraterrestrial contact might occur through dimensional interfaces rather than physical space travel. Classified contact protocols have been developed to establish communication with intelligences from parallel dimensions and alternate timelines. These contacts provide access to advanced knowledge, technological information, and solutions to problems that human civilization hasn't yet solved. The technique involves consciousness projection into dimensional space where different reality systems interface. Practitioners learn to recognize and communicate with awareness patterns that originate from non-human intelligence sources operating in parallel dimensional networks. Documented contacts include communications with advanced human civilizations from parallel Earths, exchanges with extraterrestrial intelligences operating in higher dimensional space, and information downloads from future versions of humanity that achieved technological transcendence. The interdimensional network reveals that consciousness is not limited to individual human brains, but represents a cosmic communication system that connects all aware beings across multiple levels of reality. Human consciousness is actually a terminal in this vast interdimensional information network. Military applications focus on gathering intelligence about advanced technologies and strategic information from civilizations that solve problems similar to current global challenges. Contact with more advanced versions of humanity provides guidance for navigating technological and social development safely. The suppression of interdimensional communication research protects the illusion of human isolation and prevents access to information that could rapidly advance human development beyond the control of existing authority structures. If contact with advanced intelligences became common knowledge, it would fundamentally alter human self-perception and social organization. The source code dimension. At the ultimate level of reality exists what advanced practitioners call the source code dimension, the foundational layer where all dimensions, timelines, and realities are generated from pure conscious intention. Access to this dimension provides complete creative control over existence itself, enabling consciousness to generate entirely new realities, dimensions, and forms of experience. The source code dimension represents the deepest level of the multidimensional universe where consciousness interfaces directly with the fundamental creative force that generates all existence. From this dimensional perspective, all physical and non-physical realities appear as information patterns that can be modified, deleted, or created entirely from conscious intention. Ancient texts from multiple cultures describe enlightened beings who achieved God consciousness, the ability to create and modify reality through pure mental intention. These accounts appear to describe access to the source code dimension, where consciousness gains administrative privileges over the cosmic operating system. Classified research into consciousness reality interfaces has identified specific neural activation patterns that correlate with source code access. Extreme states of meditative absorption, combined with specific brainwave frequencies, enable consciousness to transcend all dimensional limitations and interface with the creative source directly. Practitioners who achieve source code access report the ability to generate new physical laws, create pocket universes with custom parameters, and even design new forms of conscious experience that don't exist in conventional reality. The dimension represents unlimited creative potential, where consciousness becomes the fundamental force of cosmic creation. The technique requires transcending all concepts of individual identity and merging completely with the universal consciousness that generates all existence. This represents the ultimate level of human potential, where individual awareness becomes indistinguishable from the cosmic creative principle itself. Research suggests that source code access explains historical accounts of miraculous phenomena, where enlightened individuals demonstrated complete mastery over physical reality. These abilities represent the natural potential of consciousness when it recognizes its fundamental identity with the creative source of existence. The implications for human evolution are absolute. If consciousness can access the source code dimension, then humans are not limited beings trapped in physical bodies, but unlimited creative entities temporarily focused through individual perspectives. This represents the ultimate revelation about human nature and cosmic potential. The suppression of source code research protects the fundamental illusion of limitation and separation that enables all forms of control and authority. If humans realize their true nature as unlimited creative consciousness, all existing power structures would dissolve as individuals recognize their inherent sovereignty over their own reality experience. Documentation of source code access is classified at levels beyond normal government security protocols, suggesting that some discoveries are considered too revolutionary for any public release. The ability to generate realities from conscious intention represents power that transcends all conventional limitations and threatens the entire foundation of control-based civilization. Conclusion: these 10 hidden dimensions represent more than theoretical possibilities. They're accessible realms that reveal the true scope of human potential and the multidimensional nature of reality itself. From the CIA's proven astral projection programs to the classified research into reality programming, the evidence shows that consciousness can transcend three-dimensional limitations and access extraordinary capabilities. What unites these dimensional access techniques isn't mystical belief, but reproducible methods that can be learned and applied systematically. Government agencies, military programs, and classified research projects have developed practical protocols for accessing these hidden dimensions because they provide strategic advantages that conventional technology cannot match. The systematic suppression of dimensional research appears motivated by its implications for human empowerment and social control. If people could access healing dimensions, probability realms, and consciousness amplification networks, it would eliminate dependence on medical systems, predictive technologies, and educational institutions that profit from artificial limitations. Perhaps most revolutionary is what these dimensions reveal about the nature of reality itself. Physical existence appears to be just one layer of a vast multidimensional system, where consciousness operates as the fundamental creative force. Human limitations are not biological constraints, but artificial restrictions that dissolve when awareness learns to function in expanded dimensional space. The 10 dimensions documented here represent just the beginning of human potential for transcending three-dimensional limitations. Each dimensional access technique opens pathways to others, creating an exponential expansion of capabilities that could transform individual lives and human civilization itself. The suppression of this knowledge protects existing power structures by maintaining the illusion that humans are limited beings trapped in physical bodies rather than unlimited consciousness temporarily focused through dimensional perspectives. The greatest secret isn't that these dimensions exist, it's that accessing them represents the natural birthright of human awareness. These hidden dimensions prove that reality is far more expansive and malleable than we've been taught to believe. The question isn't whether these realms can be accessed. The documented evidence proves they can. The question is whether humanity will reclaim its dimensional heritage or continue accepting artificial limitations imposed by those who benefit from keeping human potential hidden. The gateways to extraordinary reality exist within consciousness itself, waiting for individuals brave enough to explore beyond the boundaries of three-dimensional thinking and discover the unlimited dimensions that have always been our true home.